The next one is a concurrent embedded design. At the end of this discussion, I would quickly discuss which are the most prevalently used data designs in management sciences or social sciences right now, which are more acceptable as well, right? So in this phase, during which both quantitative and qualitative data are collected, one is determined to be the primary method, right? In embedded one, you have to actually make one primary and then you project upon the secondary, right? So this is actually the supporting data. It's not validation. In concurrent triangulation design, we needed the qualitative data or the quantitative data for the purpose of validation. But in the concurrent embedded design, when we design this study, we actually need supporting data, secondary data for the primary methods that we actually want to strengthen that first method that we have used, right? So secondary data will provide the support to the first procedure. It is embedded through the secondary method within the predominant method and address a different question. How different question? And sometimes it is called nested as well. Why is it nested? Because the primary purpose of this, it may look like a quantitative study. It may look like completely a qualitative study because the secondary data is not highlighted as much as the primary design is highlighted. Can you look into this one? Right? It is embedded. The quant data is not a phase. Can you see this cell? This one? Right?
Yes.
It is completely quantitative phase, right? It is a completely quantitative phase, but I am taking some qualitative data to supplement. It's a supplemental data for my quantitative phase. Here, it is an entirely a qualitative data or a qualitative research study, but I am taking some quantitative data as a supplementary data to support my qualitative research findings. And somebody just from this group right now shared that when I was designing mixed method, which one was it? An action research, right? For me, it was purely quantitative, but again, I needed some qualitative data, right? So it is basically that embedded design where you use it. You might be doing a focus group discussion before the treatment, the transformation stage and after the transformation stage, right? So in your input phase and in your output phase, you might be using both the qualitative data through focus group discussions, but in the middle, when you are providing someone an awareness seminar or maybe a discussion on something, there you have a team of members who are actually having a checklist and they are quantifying the data. How many of participants did this? How many of the participants did this? How many participants were more interested to know this one, but how many of them were not taking interest at all? So you quantified that data for your qualitative purpose because you want to make this transformation phase more vibrant or maybe more useful for the participant. So you would use this quantified data from the checklist or from the questionnaire to add into your transformation so that your output phase is more enriched in terms of data, right? So actually quant data haven't given you much information, but it actually supplemented the process for you, right? And similarly, maybe I'm doing an experimental research, right? I'm taking a pre-test and then I'm taking a post-test, right? Before giving the treatment, when I took the quantitative data through a test, right? And then when I'm doing when I'm giving the treatment in pure experimental study, during the treatment, I'm going to observe things on a qualitative checklist, and that qualitative checklist actually gives me data in terms of words and expression that would inform me about the experiment, how well is it going, and then I can make efforts to make that not output. In this case, it would be, what would be this one? Not input or output. It is pre-test and post-test. Yes, for my post-test data. So the design is purely quantitative experimental design, but the qualitative data supplemented me for that treatment, right? So that would be called a concurrent embedded mixed method design. Although that is a purely quantitative research, but the qual data has been used to embed. So you wouldn't be writing it's a mixed it's an experimental research. It's going to be an experimental research as an approach, but the design is going to be a concurrent embedded design, right? You see, qual process. I did a qual process. So I give you both of the examples. I gave you an example, which is an action research, which is more a qualitative type of research. And then I gave you an example on experimental research, that how a supplementary data can help the intervention. And then you do the interpretation of the data. Okay, there is a write-up for this one, for the nested.